Underwriter at Avena Capital, bringing 18 years of expertise in project finance, structured finance, corporate advisory and capital raising. Prior to this, he led HDFC's bank investment banking for the power and oil and gas sectors and headed the e-mobility sector vertical. He has also worked with Tata Capital, Yes Bank and Bank of Baroda. Moving forward to our next panelist, Mr. Hardit Singh, COO, Brew Solar. Mr. Hardit Singh is the Chief Operating Officer at Brew Solar, where he plays a key leadership role in driving operations, business strategy and project execution. He brings valuable industry insights and a result-driven approach to scaling renewable energy initiatives. Moving forward, we have, I think he doesn't need an introduction, but still let's invite Engineer Shukla once again on the floor to join us. Chairman, Ankit Solar and Power Technologies, former Chairman, Chhattisgarh State Power Companies, ex-Chairman, Hareda, ex-CEO, Creda. So for everybody who's just joined in, let me again tell you all a little bit about sir. So Engineer Shukla is a veteran of India's renewable energy sector, credited with electrifying over 1,700 villages and installing numerous solar and biogas systems. He has held key positions including at Harida and Creda, spearheading major state-level clean energy projects, and advisor to several public and private organizations. Mr. Shukla has represented India at more than 20 international forums and received several prestigious awards for his work in sustainable development and rural electrification. And now moving forward to our final panelist for this panel, Mr. Ankit Malhotra. Please come and join us. Chief Operating Officer, Insulation Energy Limited. Mr. Ankit Malhotra has over 17 years of experience in the renewable energy sector, focusing on the development and execution of solar projects of varying scales. His career encompasses both technical roles and strategic leadership positions with a notable focus on innovation and sustainability. Everyone, please give a huge round of applause to all our panelists and our moderator, and we are going to be handling the stage and the mic over to Mr. Sehulbhai.
Thank you. Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I think it's always difficult to engage audience in post-lunch sessions, so I'm sure the discussion and the task of the team here becomes difficult. On a lighter note, we are still in solar hours. The topic is solar, so let's have a strong energy. I think before we begin, it's important to acknowledge and appreciate the pace at which industry has grown so far. Over the last 5 years, 2 important milestones have been achieved. First one, since the morning today, we have been discussing about the pace at which the journey of non-fossil fuel has grown. We achieved 50% of our capacity through non-fossil fuel 5 years in advance. That itself is a milestone. However, the second milestone, which is where we are going to discuss today, becomes very, very important and was not known to many of us maybe 5 years back. Prior to 2020 or say a COVID era, less number of industry participants or discussions like this focused on something called as a DVA, or it's called domestic value addition. I think post-COVID, through PLI and through China Plus One and our focus on self-competency, that brought in this focus very, very strongly across all the industries, be it electronics, battery system, electric vehicle, or now we are talking about solar module and the backward side. So I think it's important to also look at the way in which government is trying to implement that on the ground. There are 3 levers that we are seeing. Point number 1, it starts and it's uniformly observed across these 3 sectors, be it electronics, electric vehicle or battery, or the solar module manufacturing. The first is a tariff barrier. Second, to incentivize domestic manufacturing, you have incentive structure or VGF or in a different form PLI. And the third one, which is very crucially supporting this industry, is a non-tariff barrier. So I'm sure all of this, from a continuity point of view, becomes very important and continues to be a focus area of all stakeholders. And with that context, we will initiate a discussion on how do we see capacities not just of module but backward integration moving ahead, and what is the perspective we hear from industry players, stakeholders, investors over the next 5 years. So let me start the discussion. Shailendra, first with you. Where do you see the current scenario of module manufacturing capacity in India? I'm sure the previous discussion we have had detailed discussion including quantum and other, but the focus is where do you see a mismatch or a gap between cell and module manufacturing in India at present?
Good afternoon. We know that we already achieved installed capacity of module manufacturing more than 100 gigawatt. Though the figure says that it is around 85, 84, but unofficial figures, it says that we already crossed 100 gigawatt. Whereas cell is concerned, just day before yesterday, I issued one LCM certificate, approved list of cell manufacturers. 9 names are there, but there are 6 companies, those who are manufacturing the cells in India as per LCM list. And capacity of that is hardly 13, 14 gigawatt. Whereas the report says that already installed capacity of cell manufacturing in India is around 20, 22 gigawatt. And in process plants are around 5, 6 big plants are there. So by the end of December 26, not 25, by end of December 26, our cell manufacturing capacity would touch around 45 to 50 gigawatt. I think other panelists, they will also add something on this, but this will be around that. It means there will be gap of around 100% you can say. Like ALMM, which was announced way back in 2020, but deferred every time for 6 months, and finally it was implemented from April 2024. Similarly, I was in the government service for quite a long time. So similarly, I can say that in case of cell also, this LCM will also have to be deferred by 6 months or 1 year to achieve, to match the pace of production of both solar module and solar cell. Meanwhile, I think more other companies will also come up. And because of this PLI, their target is also fixed. In the last session, they were discussing about when this target will be achieved of PLI. So that deadline is December 2025. So if the big company like Adani and Reliance, they will start manufacturing solar cell in India. So the capacity of solar module and solar cell may match by March 2026. This is just assumption. Thank you.
Thank you. This is helpful, Shailendra. Hardit, I'll continue that question with you. Where do you see this number by 2030? And in the interim, how do you see module manufacturers bridging the gap? Will it be more of an import? Will it be contract manufacturing or their own application?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd just like to add to what Sir just mentioned. So, while yesterday there was this list by MNRE of 13.5 gigawatt, but the actual installed capacity in India today is around 27, 28. There are 2-3 large manufacturers whose facility is operational, but since the ALMM inspection has not been done, so they are not included in that list. These together are about 12-13 gigawatts. That is one. Second is that what is more important is that why this mismatch has happened. While the module has reached over 100 and the cell we are still struggling at 25 or 27, whatever it is today. So the important thing here to note is that the manufacturing on the module side also picked up after the ALMM was implemented seriously in April 24. If you see, prior to that, it was hardly 30-35 gigawatts. So last 60-70 gigawatts have come in the last 1 year, or 15-16 months that have gone by. Firstly. Secondly, the cell, similarly, when the ALCM came, was announced in December, so you saw a flurry of announcements which happened on the manufacturing of the cell. Now, we are PLIO, we are one of the PLIO beneficiaries in the WCM category. Now, we were also waiting. My investors were not ready to take the risk that without, because you see, it's now proven the neighboring country, who is our biggest competitor. So, no tariff barriers has ever been able to stop them, whether in India or globally. You see, globally also. So no tariff barriers are able to stop them. So it is only the non-tariff barriers which are effective against them. So it's being very effectively used by US also and some other countries. And we also learned from that and we started with these non-tariff barriers. So had the ALMM and ALCM announcement come together, 1 year back, you would have seen the cell manufacturing also would have been at that level today. Because the investors as I said, were not confident because this industry, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, it's a completely policy-driven industry. So we are, completely dependent on the government policies. Little bit tweaking they do here and there. Yesterday there was some announcement of the ALCM, the list after the implementation part will be 1 month after. So you saw stocks falling of all the solar companies which are on the BSE. So although it was more a case of perception in this case, yes, because it's not going to make much of a difference whatever the but coming back to your question about the gap, I personally, because the MNRE had asked all the manufacturers about what is their commitment they are doing on the cell side, on the wafer side, and whoever have got whatever PLIs and even the non-PLI guys. So the commitment that they have received, I was part of that group. So the commitment that they have received is almost touching 100 gigawatts of cell also. But the question is how fast it will come. So yes, I see that by March 26, we should easily be touching the 40-50 gigawatt mark. Maybe a year from that, it should go closer to 80-90 or whatever. So which will largely cover the requirement because our domestic requirement is not more than that. It will actually be over our domestic requirement. So the gap will be met. Right now the government's focus is on the W part, the wafer part, because there nothing has happened at all, even by the PLI holders, for the same reason which I mentioned to you. So now we are pushing them to come up with, instead of delaying it, to come up with something like an AWM, so that work can start on that. So yes, I hope it answers your.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the point that you mentioned that the commitment number will not be the actual reality after 3 years, but the commitment number of 100 is almost 4x of current cell capacity. So that's a huge jump. Ankit, I'll come to you. There are 2 points which Hardit mentioned, and it relates to the next question. Large part of the growth across the value chain is driven by the policy certainty, or at least the belief that the policy will continue. Second, the market also believes that the underlying strong domestic growth and somewhere the export opportunities will continue. So there are 2 levers which are parallel working. How does the industry stakeholder put together the investor as well as manufacturer look at maybe a visibility of 3 to 5 years to put in this much of a capex?
Thanks, see, I'm in this industry for past 17 years now. Actually, working more like a front ender to entire value chain. Right? I'm developing the project, I'm EPC and other things. The main concern, what I understand from the industry aspect, that
Sir, we can't hear you.
Excuse me, we are not able to
Hear
hear you.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Apart from that, if you able to see the scenario about the export. See, I travel a lot. I did project in Bangladesh, I did in Sri Lanka, I did in South Africa, and international markets. To be very honest, I'm not able to compete with the imported panel what they are getting from China. The value chain, the price. The question was that export. I cannot answer that. You guys are the better people who have more experience than the production part. They can actually be able to answer that. Will be able to talk about that particular part which we need to fulfill. Like if I talk to many people in Bangladesh, can you compete with Chinese country? So what's your rate? I seriously never called them. I am not able to call back that whether I can propose them anything or not. It's bit challenging at present. So if anything got stuck in that condition, if the government or if the policy is not supporting industry to work on backward integration, like polysilicon, specifically the polysilicon. See, whatever you can do, this was simply chance we can do and furnace we can produce do that. But that is at present at most one if the country or the government is announcing such statements or such things which can be making the stock shiver in the market, which actually happened last day only, I guess. So we need to work on that.
Right. I think the price concern has been highlighted strongly across all the discussions which is going on today. Abhishek, with that I come to you. We have observed that not just for this sector but across the technology industries. Typically, India is an adapter to what happens globally. And in such cases, if you have to keep up pace with the market expectation, either do a JV or do a technical alliance or do a quick kind of collaboration with the counterparts on the other side. Do you see that trend in India right now? Because as we are in the learning curve, do you see that trend where corporates are doing that kind of a collaboration with the technology side?
In the recent times, what we've seen, there's been a few development of JV or setting up collaborations. Recently, Premier Energy, they announced a collaboration with SAS, which is Singh Silicon Products Manufacturing. And this collaboration, we put up a JV which will be investing in India for manufacturing wafers. So with this, not only we get investment but also the technical know-how in the Indian ecosystem of solar manufacturing. Similarly, we have another player, Self-Sufficiency Energy, which has announced technical strategic alliance with JA Solar, which is world's leading solar technology manufacturer. They'll be setting up a plant in India, 2.4 gigawatt of solar cells and 4 gigawatt of module manufacturing. And then there have been other two, let's say, I wouldn't say technology sharing, but more of a getting that expertise on the TOPCon technology. One is Citizen Energy. They have tied up with Kshiteej Machinery, again a leading equipment supplier from China, to set up a TOPCon module line in India. And INA Solar has again got into an arrangement with an equipment supplier from China, if I know the name correct, it's CA Exact Equipments Company. From the regulatory side, what government is trying to do and what we understand, as you mentioned, ALW would be also beneficial. So what we understand that there is work going on towards having an ALWM concept by let's say 2028. The government is also working on a capital subsidy incentive plan for the upstream technology, mainly manufacturing This is a $1 billion capital subsidy, which is in advanced stages and may be presented to the cabinets very soon for the final approval. And to be fair, even the PLI, the existing PLI scheme, in a way is rewarding towards any technological improvement that a developer can bring through bringing in more efficient technology, bringing in more efficiencies in the modules that they manufacture. Plus, from creating a market from a demand side, I think BCD, ALMM, so all these barriers are also being created by the government to ensure that the investors who is investing not only in module manufacturing or cell manufacturing but also in the upstream technologies has a visibility of a clear market that is long-term demand is created through that. So JVs definitely, and I don't personally feel that there's harm in collaborating on a technology which will take for us to develop sometime. And we are seeing green shoots of these happening, and maybe we'll see more through these government policies. Thank you.
Sure, thanks. So for that, I think we spoke about the growth trajectory for the next 5 years. My question is to you, Kshiteej, first, and then the same question to Shailen also. By 2030, is it practically possible to have 100% self-sufficiency, going back to the policy maker? I think that's the vision that if someone has to, as a policy maker, visualize. Is it practically possible? And if yes, what kind of an investment or incentive or ecosystem is it?
So when it comes to 100% self-sufficiency, I would say it's a tough one, especially touching the point that I've already mentioned around wafer and polysilicon. These technologies, China has a significant head start on us. They have cost advantages, they have technological advantages. It's going to be difficult to completely replace them on those tracks, right? Especially in terms of the fact that there's no capacity already in place and it's already like midway through 2025. So getting all of the capacity from any such future policies which come in the next 2 to 3 years, it's very unlikely to expect that to convert by 2030, right? In terms of actually what you see in the market. When it comes to modules and cells, though, there's the interesting part in terms of what the capacities are looking like. We should also look at what the demand centers are, right? So one part is your government demand that it has been there steadily for the last few years, has continued to grow as we speak. But then there's also your commercial industrial demand, right? Or your residential demand which comes into play. Now, when we look into the CNI demand, commercial industrial, the fact is that the ALMM doesn't really help you there, right? So there it's an open market still. And for a CNI customer, since me, I personally have worked as one of the developers in those cases, we are looking for how I can make the most money, right? So if the economics work for me, if it's getting me better number of units produced, I still might end up going with the Chinese model over an Indian model, even with all the duty restrictions, even with making it, right? Because ultimately, for me, on an overall project economics, it makes more sense to go with the Chinese model. So that front, I don't know whether India will still be able to capture a lot of share there. I think it's already doing, catching a lot of the Chinese share there as well. But in a lot of the projects, China-based models are preferred as of today. So going ahead in the next 5 years, how much of that will be replaced is not so sure. But on the government front, yes, obviously, and that is a different chunk of the demand. So one key part there will be government. Yeah.
That's interesting. Shailen, what's your view on this? Shailen, what's your view on the self-sufficiency by 2030? To what extent we can actually or realistically achieve the penetration?
I'm very much confident. I'm very much confident. By 2030, definitely sufficiency will be there, and the complete chain, the upstream, right from the imports to wafer and then to cell, then to module. We will develop all capacities in the area of all. Like EVA, I started EVA industry in 2021, sheet sold. Those days, I know that people were afraid of manufacturing this EVA sheet. They thought that recipe has some complication in that. And I know few companies, good companies, those who started manufacturing these EVA sheets are now closed. They have 5-6 lines of EVA. So, of course, if you start any industry, it's not that easy like module manufacturing. Even if you are manufacturing cell, I know companies, those who have started manufacturing cell, are not able to achieve the efficiency of that cell. Though they are claiming that capacity is now 3 gigawatt or 3.5 gigawatt, but what they are claiming about the efficiency of that they could not achieve. In case of POE, like you people, those who are sitting here are from the module manufacturing industry, know that hardly 2-3 manufacturers are using POE. They have some issues in its slippery quality POE. Whereas the IC says that if it is TOPCon, then you should use only POE in that. So in place of POE, they are using now EP. I am giving this example that because as far as the sufficiency is concerned, yes, in any case, people will develop some technologies to achieve this target, and they're able to meet out this.
Right. So not necessarily the headline number is a true indicator. The back end makes more sense. I agree. I think with that, I'll come to you. You said your experience of PLI has been strongly positive. What do you think from the benefit point of view? How it has helped not just your company but as an industry in accelerating the growth of manufacturing?
Well, if you see the whole PLI gambit which they have done across various industries, government,
right.
So it has helped almost all the industries to scale up and reach where they need to reach or whatever they target, except for one or two industries where they are lagging behind, including solar. Solar, of course, not so much on the module side, but on the other downstream wafer and so yes, but even on the module and but frankly, if you see the expansion which has happened till now on the module and the cell side, is a large part of that is happened by non-PLI players.
Right.
If you see the manufacturers, they haven't gone in for the PLI, and even the ones who have gone in for PLI, so if they had got PLI for example, we have got PLI for 2 gigawatt. Now, I am setting up a facility of 10 gigawatts. So, I am not restricting my, just to get that PLI benefit. So, my investment and my whole, outlook is based on the market which is there, or which I foresee, happening. One encouraging thing which has happened is, that till now the government had set a target of 500 gigawatt of renewable by 2030. So last week I saw the Assistant Secretary announce the revised target of 2047 of 1800 gigawatt. So which is a good thing that the government is seeing beyond 2030, because if you have to invest in polysilicon and wafer in that, so it's not, you can't just do it keeping a 5-year time period in mind. You need a much longer, because these are things which you need, the ROI to come over a period of time. It's not going to happen as fast as a year or two, like in the case of cell. So that was a good part which, this is also, what this shows is the government is also thinking.
Right.
It's not just, sitting on its laurel, PLI launch karte ho jayega apne aap. So they have been trying to tweak, come up with various incentives on the demand side, not only on the manufacturing side, even on the demand side, like the PM, and the KUSUM, various ABC schemes. So all these, they are there to generate the demand so that what you are going to produce domestically also, gets consumed, and there are avenues available for that. So that's a good positive part within
Sure, this is helpful. Ankit, coming to you, so far the discussion that we've had was more on the promising or a strong outlook on the demand side of module and the backward side. But once a player decides to put up a capacity, on ground challenges become also a second part which is very critical to be observed. With the fact that India traditionally has operated non-technology driven sectors. And when we enter into sectors like electronics, semiconductor, battery or module, the challenges are quite different compared to what otherwise a cement, textile or a pharma company would have said. So how do you see these challenges and how the companies are navigating through that?
I want to give one sort of example. Yesterday when we had met one battery manufacturer, big battery manufacturer. What he told me that supposedly I'm talking the lead acid battery. Lead acid battery costs you 100 rupees. 10 rupees is your box cost, 10 is your production cost. And rest, entire 50% is your lead, which cost is more or less similar to what we are producing. So I'm going to your question. How are we able to achieve? Of course, if we are able to work more on the recyclable things, reusable things, we actually able to achieve or be able to pop up with the pricing what we are looking for. Like even I have seen many people started recycling solar. They are just extracting copper and other things. But what they are doing, whether they able to utilize silicon or not, I don't see. But they don't have any facility. How you extract? How you able to extract that power? So with major component of the cell, polysilicon, or use the entire chemical industry. Nobody is actually working on that. Maybe people are working. Maybe I'm not aware. Sorry. No judges. So we actually need to work more diligently on the technology. And I must say government should support us. Because without we're talking about you had a discussion about the PLI scheme. But I'm saying PM Surya Yojana happened maybe just because of the subsidy. What is subsidy? It's a PLI for the off-taker, the end user, the residential people who actually able to understand, okay, this is the subsidy what I'm getting, I'm investing only this much. That is a kind of you can say proportion of expansion usually happens in entire industry, residential industry. Nobody was seeing. People are working only utility scale or near the commercial industry because they can't see a market in the residential. And thanks to the government also, because of course that also played a major role on the grid connectivity. So before that, the grid connectivity was also a critical role, crucial role actually. If you were able to set up a grid connected power plant and not able to feed back to the grid, that also thanks to the government for that. That's it.
Sure, thank you. Abhishek, coming to you. If we do a quick math around the numbers, the industry expects around a consumption of 50 gigawatt of module per year on average for the next 4 years. If you look at the forecasted number by 2030, it's going to be about 125 gigawatt of capacity development. So clearly, I think the potential is also looked at from the export scale. Parallel to that, if you connect this phenomena with China plus one or export potential across the globe or other countries, do you see investments coming in from players with an objective specifically from an outside India opportunity? So maybe a China plus one policy or a strategy of geographical diversification, is it helping capacity build up in India also?
Yeah, so in terms of the capacity that we're targeting, of course, the bigger target is to achieve 500 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel power generating source, of which solar is expected to contribute around 220 if we combine all utility, the Singh Yojana rooftop solar schemes. So you're right, the math is around about 50 gigawatt on an annual basis. Now, as far as, let's say, attracting investments in India on the manufacturing business, solar manufacturing business, the three key pillars would be the regulatory and the policy framework, the market demand that is there, and the other infrastructure and logistical support that the state governments will be providing. So under the government's regulatory framework, you have PLI, people have spoken about it, it's been a landmark. The garnering investment. We've already garnered around 41,000 crores of investment with another 15,000 crore budgeted in FY25, was announced in FY25. So, and then the other scheme, on the upstream capital subsidy scheme that I spoke about, which is there. Plus, the government has already allowed 100% FDI in the renewable business, which is straightforward, and it is through an automatic route. So, allows the investor to straightforward come and invest in the renewable business in India. And the tax incentives in terms of accelerated depreciation, which is 40% first year. So these are the government or the regulatory frameworks. Coming to the demand side, 50 gigawatt per year assures a robust kind of a demand that is available for the next 5 years, coupled with the policies like ALMM, ALMM, and DCTs, which ensures that the consumption will be from domestic players. Now, on the infrastructure side, we have states like Gujarat, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, which are offering renewable energy parks, green corridors, state incentives, both capital and tax benefits for players to set up manufacturing plants in their states. So, collectively, if I summarize with a multi-layered incentive scheme, plus the robust demand that we see from in-house consumption that India has, and the infrastructure support that the state governments are providing. Plus, on a global level, if we club it with the China Plus One strategy, we see that there is enough ingredients for the investors to come and invest in India in the solar manufacturing industry.
Thank you. Sharon, coming to you on the cost comparison side. The industry discussion suggests that on per gigawatt basis, when you move one step to the left, which is on the upstream side, the cost of capex always almost double or maybe triple or goes up to 4x. This is the technology competition that we take up. So when you shift from only module to say C plus M or W plus C plus M, the cost multiple goes up significantly of setting up the plant. How do you see that cost jump vis-a-vis complexity and the efficiency benefit that a developer achieves because of this backward integration?
Increase in cost because of using ADS?
No. So, a developer putting up only an assembling plant vis-a-vis another developer putting the backward integrated plant. So that cost goes up significantly, right? When you go up in terms of upstream implementation.
Cost will go down.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Cost will go down. But see, here the role of government comes. Why the Bhilai steel plant was set up by the government, why they bought this BHEL, why the Bokaro plant was, because these are all, these ingots, wafer plants, these are all बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा लगेगा. Expenditure in setting up this plant will be huge. So because of that, I think initially government should support, either they should set up these all big size plants through PSUs, like NTPC can be involved. You might have observed that in last 5-10 years, NTPC portfolio of solar energy is more than 10,000 megawatt. They were in thermal project, but in their books they have surplus money. They have always surplus money which they can put in solar plant. Because of that, the cost of power, solar power cost has come down to 2 rupees. 2 rupees 20 paisa, 2 rupees 15 paisa. And they have signed the PPA at this cost, which is the cheapest in the world, you can say. In no country you can sell this power at 2 rupees 50 paisa. It is all because of the PSUs. So I think for these upper steam side, this paper and ingots, government should involve PSUs.
That's an
Then only
interesting
the cost will
perspective.
come down. Yeah.
Right.
For an investor who is getting the funds at 9%, even at 10% interest rate, I think we cannot compete in the market with that price.
Interesting. Hardit, coming to you, initial discussion you mentioned that while the ballpark figure of module capacity is one thing, but at the back end the technology change is another phenomenon that we should be mindful of. How do you see the transition of multi to mono and now to N-type technology shifting, and where the large part of the incremental capacity is coming from?
is generally overlooked by everyone. Even if you see when we moved from P-type to N-type, which is TOPCon, so a lot of companies which could not upgrade their lines had to actually shut down. And and solar is such an evolving technology at such a fast pace. So you don't know actually what's going to happen next year or the year after that.
Right.
Now we are trying to build that robustness in our lines that we are setting up, keeping in mind that what can come next, whether it is back contact or whether it is tandem or HJT, so whether our lines will be able to cope up with that or we need to do minor adjustments. So all that now people have started thinking, and there's a lot of thought going into that. But yes, there is going to be a lot of shakeout happening. Every time there is going to be a technological change, which is going to happen whether you like it or not, sooner than later. So that's how China works. So they don't stand in one place. That's how they beat competition. So already they know people have started working on TOPCon. So this time when we went to SNEC, the expo there, so everyone was talking about back contact. They have completely stopped talking about TOPCon. So they have all started talking about back contact. They started talking about HJT and things of that sort. So now we are actually in a fix. The new lines, we should bring in for the back contact or for this. So this is going to be a challenge, no doubt about it. But I'd just like to add to the question you just asked, regarding the market size and the capacities which are coming. While there is a perceptible over capacity which is staring at us or which we feel is coming across, but as I said, there is going to be over in the next few years, as has been the case in all the industries, there is going to be a shakeout also as we move and as the industry matures. And secondly, we are only looking at the 500 gigawatt of renewable, which is the conventional demand, which the government has set its eyes on. There is a huge demand which is going to come up on the solar side, on the hydrogen. And there is a lot of work happening on hydrogen at a very fast pace. The government is actually telling us to stop working on solar and start working on hydrogen because that's what they're pushing. And once hydrogen starts getting popular, so you will need green hydrogen because there's no point having blue hydrogen because otherwise the whole purpose of having hydrogen is defeated. So once you move to green hydrogen, the only way to produce green hydrogen is by solar or wind. So that demand is also going to explode. So there is a huge, as far as solar, so I keep telling all my solar industry colleagues that you don't need to worry about the demand. There is going to be enough and more which is going to come in over the next few years, especially in the next 5 years. And you will just see this is going to, the whole paradigm change is going to happen in this.
Absolutely. I think if I use the government reference of 25 gigawatt per 1 TP of green hydrogen, there is 125 gigawatt of potential. If I go by 5 TPA target of 2030.
Just to give you an example, Oman last year awarded contracts for 25 gigawatts of green hydrogen projects. 5 gigawatt of that was won by an Indian company also like me. So this 25 gigawatts if they have to produce, so minimum 60% of that have to come from solar. So that is 16, 17 gigawatts and thing. This is just one Oman talking. So in India there is going to be a huge, it will be a few hundreds of gigawatts of green hydrogen demand that is going to come.
Right.
So there's a huge potential.
Right. So Kshiteej, coming to you now, with the change of technology on the module manufacturing side, green hydrogen part coming in, how do you see the role of R&D and how companies in India are investing into technology-related research?
That's a very good point you made. Just to build on the green hydrogen bit and then move to the R&D bit. Green hydrogen in its own the potential for focusing on it, and there is that potential for solar panels coming through it. In terms of R&D and R&D spend, so when we are sort of comparing companies to global in terms of R&D spend, it's usually on the lower side. So you would expect about 1/3 in terms of percentage spend in R&D in terms of R&D of your revenue spend. So if you told me how much R&D are you spending, in India that comes out to be 1/3. So and that it's across industries, not just solar that I'm going to be talking about. Because the fact is that in general, India has lagged in R&D. It comes to competitors in China or in Europe or in USA. But that's at the same time, with the movement of backward integration in the industry, particularly towards cell and now also towards wafer, there is that increase in spend. So you would observe that with these technology tie-ups that are happening, with sort of this increased focus towards manufacturing by the top players, there is that movement towards greater R&D spend. And that going ahead has to be the case. So if you're moving to TOPCon or you're moving to future technologies or perovskites or anything else that comes in the future, at the Indian R&D spend that becomes a very key important part of it. And I think that when we look into the technology aspect, and I think this is something that Hardit also talked about, right? That China keeps itself ahead of other countries by continuously innovating. And that's where they make a difference. So one day you have a certain technology that finally is maybe China is 2 years ahead in terms of their R&D and their new technology that they come out. So from what I know, they already set up all their plans are already TOPCon, and now they're moving to the next stage already, whereas India is still bringing in TOPCon right now into its entire value chain, right? So I think that lag on its own still is considerable, and maybe on an export front we might struggle. But on a domestic front, I do see the R&D or the technologies that we have to be sufficient at least for the next 5 years for the demand landscape that we're looking at, especially with that government security in place, right? But on an export front, that was one question that you had asked earlier here as well. Investors, particularly, I've spoken to a lot of investors who are interested in manufacturing in India. I'm not looking at India solar particularly from an export lens yet. They feel that the domestic demand is very strong. It's good enough to make an investable case for it. Export though, we do have a strong case. We are the third largest manufacturers after sort of US and China and US. So we do have a strong play there, especially with China this one happening. But investors right now are not really considering that as one of the key criteria for the next 2-3 years.
Thanks. Maybe
sorry, just a point I'd like to add on the R&D side, just to give you an example. In India, we have patents held by Indians on the solar side. I'm talking about the solar industry. We are less than 900, 800 or something. I don't remember the exact figure. And China has 38,000 patents. So that is the gap, between the R&D, what happens there, and what we are doing here. And it's really unfortunate. And if you see the figures, who have been in government, you will know. In fact, the Secretary Amenadi was telling us the other day that only fund which lapses every year is the fund which is allocated for R&D. They are unable to spend it. They don't know where to spend it. The industry just doesn't come forward, on that side. That is also the reason. I'll give you a classic example from the mobile industry, which has suffered because of this, the domestic mobile industry. Today, all the production that is happening on the mobile side in India is all by foreign manufacturers. There is not a single Indian manufacturer. 10 years back, in 2015, I am able to give you these figures because I belong to I spent almost 20 years in the mobile industry. So, in 2015, there were 564 registered Indian mobile brands. Today, how many are available? You go to a mobile shop and look for an Indian brand phone. I don't think you will even have 2-3 on your fingertips, you won't be able to count. The largest brand, which was market leader at that time, Micromax, it had a turnover of 2,000 crores per month in 2014-15. Where is it today? They vanished. I can take 10 names. Intex, Dava, Zen, there were so many of them. they've all, just carbon, they've all just gone down the drain over a period of time, only because of zero R&D. They just couldn't keep pace with the development of the technology which happened, around the world, around them, especially in the China, Korea side. So today you have the Samsungs of the world and the iPhones of the world, which are manufacturing over here, or Chinese Vivo, Oppos, which are manufacturing here and selling here and exporting from here. But there's hardly not a single Indian brand.
No, I think I completely agree. To add to your point, if you observe even the nature of PLI across 14 sectors, the incentive is on output, not on the value addition to R&D. Right? So I think very strong case right now when India is into the journey of 3 E's, be it energy, electric vehicle, or the energy transition side. It is an important milestone for R&D to focus on. Abhishek, to you, maybe last question. We take up quick questions from audience. In the entire journey so far we spoke of for the next 5 years, do you see any risk element panning out which are unknowns to manufacturers, to investors, which can hamper the growth journey?
I think people here are in the industry, so they are aware of the risk that is there. One risk was rightly pointed out by Hardit was the spend on the R&D. But if I have to just list down the risks for the benefit of everyone, I think the key would be the over-dependence on China for the raw material, especially in the upstream segment. Because any disruption there, whether it is a protectionist measure by China or any dispute, geopolitical dispute with the country, can lead to a significant delay in production of solar module. And we are seeing something similar unfolding in the electric mobility space, where China, without a formal announcement, has stopped exports from their country on the rare earth materials. The other point would be let's say the demand. When we speak about the demand, 50 gigawatt, X gigawatt, a lot of it is through the utility scale, and there they're saying what we're saying is the transmission infrastructure has not scaled up the way it was expected. Today, if you go and apply for any ISTS, that is interstate connectivity, there's nothing available. You'll get it only after 2029. So that is something which is affecting the IPP, the power producers, and they will be effectively consuming these modules. So that is another area which is a risk, potential risk. The other part is the gap between cell manufacturing and the module manufacturing, which in near term can be a bottleneck for the manufacturing industry. Again, when it comes to financing, we see that the lenders are very keen on financing solar power projects, where somebody is putting a 200 megawatt or 500 megawatt. But for financing a manufacturing facility, we've seen that there's been apprehension. And as Sir rightly mentioned, if we have to set up plants for the upstream part, where we end up manufacturing wafers, ingots, that entails huge capex. So maybe there has to be a financing scheme or a financing arrangement, some benefits, let's say classify them as priority sector lending, which enables the lenders to look at this segment favorably. That can be, because I think from a financing perspective, I think that's a risk that is there. Lack of R&D results in a lack of skilled workforce. And if we are planning for a self-reliant module manufacturing industry, I think that upskilling is required, which to my mind is again a risk that we see. I think that will be few of the risks which come to my mind right now.
Thank you, Abhishek. So I think before I take up the questions from audience, maybe in 3 lines, if I have to tell AI to summarize last 1 hour of discussion in 3 statements, it could be: 1, domestic demand appears to be strong. However, export appears to be monitorable given the volatility and the tariff tension that we see outside. 2, what industry is looking forward to is: 1, policy consistency. It's not only political consistency, it's policy consistency as well as stability. And three, despite all of this, what happens in China, what happens to global prices, that remains a key risk to possibly a growth that we are designing. With that, maybe we close the discussion. Happy to take questions if there are any from the audience. We have 4 or 5 minutes to go. I think everybody is well convinced. Thanks for all the input that you have shared. Yes, sir.
Hello, thank you. So, generally I belong to HR consulting firm. So, I mostly interact with the renewable sectors, HR side on that. Okay. So, during my interaction, I come to know that up to 2030, there is no approval for connectivity. So, connectivity has been freezed. And all the top players, those are into the solar sector, developers, 63% projects are getting delayed. We will manufacture modules, everything is fine. But if there is no connectivity and the developer is developing the IPP through IPP model, there are a lot of things, then where they will sell the energy and where they will get the money and how the investors will get their money.
So maybe let me initiate and then I will be happy to take input from everyone of you. So from this Bridge to India assessment that we do regularly across projects in India, we agree on some of the challenges that we face on ground. So there are 3 challenges that we have observed which have come out through data as well as industry interaction. One, as we grow at a higher pace, the land availability at the right spots could be a challenge. 2, last mile connectivity, especially at an STU level or state transmission level, could be a challenge. And 3, many times the approval, not in terms of procedural aspect, but in terms of pace or a time of approval, that could be a challenge. But I'm not very sure if 63% is that the relevant or is that a true number here, because that's a harsh delay which at least in our observation we will not come across. We understand that there are delays that have been observed. Essentially the reason behind delays are one of these 3 possibly observed across some of the states. But any additional points anyone wants to add?
I'll take the grid connectivity bit. See, the majority of the reason grid connectivity delay is in the last 2 years, all the ISTS projects that were bid out, almost 90% of those projects are being set up in Rajasthan. Now, to take the power from Rajasthan and spread it across different parts of the country, you need an infrastructure which will take time to develop. And it is happening. Of course, the progress is not the way the government or the investors, the developers would have liked. But what we've seen, and I think people have learned from their mistake, that just to achieve, let's say, 2 to 3% higher PLF by putting a project in Rajasthan, it is also prudent to get the project up and running in a timely manner. And that is where we see a lot of players now investing in Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh has come up with a renewable energy policy. There is a lot of investment happening in Maharashtra. We have a Dhule substation that is coming up, which is expected to come up in December 25 for 2 gigawatt, which is an ISTS project. That Dhule substation will be upgraded to a 5 gigawatt substation, and that process is also initiated. So the idea is to take this ISTS connectivity to different states, which are again renewable energy rich states, and curtail this risk of connectivity. Yes, there is a risk, but I think it is being addressed. But let's hope that we have a solution and all the modules that have been manufactured gets consumed and then everybody makes money and stays happy.
We have one more question. In the interest of time, that will be the last question will be taken.
Hello, I am Hemendra. Actually, I just want to know that we have the module manufacturing of 85 gigawatt, let's say, and the cell manufacturing of approximately 28 gigawatt. Have we discounted the technology which is going absolute now? So, what will be the amount of percentage that will be deducted from this 28 gigawatt? Because let's say for this, it may remain or because even there is a question about the TOPCon also. So how we will distribute that this panel manufacturing will be equivalent to the gigawatt cell manufacturing?
So I think there are two parts here. While I do not have numbers handy, we have to take input from panel members here. While the headline number of 80 gigawatts that you mentioned, that needs to be factored in with two elements. One, the obsolete part that has to move out from the denominator. And second, in one of the previous panel also that point was highlighted that not all numbers that you see are actually the outcome. It's a nameplate capacity and the one where you actually see a production. So the moment you look at these numbers with these two levers, the calculation will significantly change. But any additional points?
I think the capacity, especially on the cell side, which we are talking about, is what is currently operational, and because this is a ALMM which has come in after inspection, on-ground inspection. So this is what is currently operational. Yes, on the module side, there might be some technology which may get outpaced once the M10 moves out or the PERC moves out and TOPCon is completely taken over. So then slowly, as I said, the shakeout will happen. In the next 1-2 years, you will see shakeout happening. There will be a lot of realignment in this.
Thank you.
Some modifications, normally take the example of the bulb. Maximum Sylvania, Crompton, Philips, Bajaj, those who were manufacturing bulb are now manufacturing LEDs. So with some modifications, some changes, those who were manufacturing these poly modules now, they end up to M10 and now they are making this TOPCon.
Thank you, Shailendra. Let's have a big round of applause for the panel members with us before we conclude the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Again, time for a little felicitation. So I would like to request our moderators, sir, please step forward. First up, let's welcome Mr. Kshiteej Mishra once again. Mr. Abhishek Kumar, please come. Next up, Mr. Hardit Singh.
Sir, please center में आ जाइए please. Thank you so much.
Next up, Engineer Shukla. Mr. Ankit Malhotra. And now to felicitate our moderator, I would like to request Mr. Amit Mittal, who's the CEO, Jindal India Renewable Energy. Gentlemen, please step forward for a photo. Just a second, sir. You can please join.
Smile कर दीजिए sir. Thank you.
Everyone, can we give a huge round of applause for this panel as well? Can you please join in once again for another photograph? The photographer basically wants you all to smile a little more. Thank you so much. Please be seated. Okay, moving forward to the presentation now, everybody. So we are going to be having our presenter who's going to present the presentation right here, Mr. Lucas Zhang, Overseas Sales Manager, 100. Everybody, come on, can we have a little energy from everyone? Thank you so much. Give a huge round of applause to everybody who's coming and sharing so many insights on the stage.
नमस्कार.